All right, let's get into our next discussion now. Now, the newly elected chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Uche Secondus, has formally assumed office at the party's national headquarters in Abuja with a pledge to decentralize the powers to state chapters for effective administration.
Indeed. But while receiving handover notes, the new chairman said the National Working Committee of the party would empower the state's executive committees so that they would focus on regaining power in 2019 at the federal level. But the chairman said the first assignment of the NWC led by him would be reconciliation among party members, especially candidates at the just concluded convention.
By the grace of God, you will have your full power to operate as state chapters to make sure that our party moves in the right direction. And I empower you on behalf of the ESCO to start to address issues, national issues in your various states. We will decentralize power from the center so that we will be less busy here, so that we can focus on one mission to reclaim our lost government in 2019.
Decentralized power for states to be more effective. That's from the chairman of the People's Democratic Party, which is Secondus. Now we have here in the studio an active member of the People's Democratic Party, Segun Showomi, with us to discuss this. Good morning. It's nice to have you join us.
Good morning. It's nice to be here.
Right. Your party has a new chairman now, and now there seem to be direction. Now there seem to be, everybody coming together, and the party is prepared to take the next step into towards 2019. But a lot of people are still saying that the first step is to reconcile, because they are aggrieved. In fact, a statement credited to Jimmy Agbaje, one of the contestants, said that the Southwest is very aggrieved, seeing that one way or the other, if you're going to win presidency, the Southwest is a very, it's not a wish, you can't wish it away. What kind of reconciliatory moves should the chairman be taking right now?
Thank you. First of all, let me congratulate Uche Secondus, our brand new chairman. He has the knowledge of the party. He has his hands, he's been there, and he knows what the issues really are. It remains to be seen whether he will have the courage to not do business as usual. For there's always the tendency for people who have been on the process for too long to be used to a certain style and be used to a certain set of people. And therefore, everything seems to be changing, but nothing really moves. But having said that, I'm trusting his words, I'm believing him, and I'm begging our party members to let us give him the opportunity. As for the Southwest, let me say that all parts of Nigeria is important for the purposes of an election, if that's what you want to keep the focus. But in terms of the irritation, I think the Southwest, like every other part of the country, especially where those candidates came, I think the thing that irritated them the most was that somehow they were not able to have their way. And I did a bit of introspection, and I was thinking through the process that what could we have done better? How could we have managed it? Let me start with the unity list. The whole concept of a unity list is to ensure that every section of the country is represented in the ESCO. Remember that the People's Democratic Party of Nigeria were the owners of the idea that has now taken roots in the country, where everybody brings in, everybody brings in ministers from the states and all of that, all the representation. And so it's that same concept that goes into this unity list. But the fault with the unity list system is that if you must do a unity list, then it beholds those who are going to do the unity list to ensure that the processes by which they generate those people from their zones is as transparent, as fair, and as egalitarian as possible.
And that is now the fear, really, because many are saying that the PDP has in fact not even changed, because governors were very strong when the party was in power in the country, and now it's very obvious the people behind the unity list that brought about the ESCOs of the party at this time.
I think that there's always the tendency for the mob first word out of the bullet, and everybody runs with that. It's not exactly correct. Okay. If you look at the way the composition of the delegates are, you can't blame any one governor. I'll tell you why. There's a list of people there that are former this, former that, very, very important people that we call statutory delegates. Do you expect people like that to be easily moved about by governors? There are a group of people there that are, you call the rep members. They are statutory delegates. Do you expect governors to run riot over such people? There are senators who are statutory members. And then you also have, we have 36 states plus Abuja. We only have about 11 governors. That means that we have about 26 states that do not even have governors. We have those, in those areas, they have former governors, former this, former that, who are supposed to be the leaders of the state. So if anyone wins, if any tendency wins at an election of this nature, we first of all must blame ourselves for what we have become. It's either we have become a people that only reacts to money, or we have become a people that just don't do the right thing at the right time. Or maybe the processes by which we generate the delegates, we need to go figure out how to make it so strong that anybody who comes from a state and becomes a delegate will be beyond who can be manipulated. But you know what? Yeah. Democracy, especially from the point of view of the PDP, is still a work in progress. And if you look at the whole process, I was a member of that committee, the main planning committee. I discovered the brilliance and the capacity of Governor Okunwa at close hand, because I saw that he really tried the best he could during the planning and talking to them to ensure that everybody got a chance. And when it was time for the voting, okay, somebody said, okay, these are the people you should vote for. But they didn't force you to vote for them. They didn't force your delegates to thumbprint. There was every opportunity for you to vote. And for the governors, we're not going to deceive ourselves that governors are not important either in the PDP or in the APC or even in ABGA, in areas where they have governors. The reason why that is so, in my opinion, is that we have not evolved to the level where members are willing and prepared to pay annual dues for political party functioning. So if you don't want to pay to be a member of the party, if you don't pay in a club, take a social club. If you are not a fee-paying member, if you left all the funding of a club to just one man, then it just makes sense that one man will control everybody. But if we develop to the level where if you're a card-carrying member of a political party, you're willing to pay a little token as your annual due, and you pay it yearly, then you will find out that the monies you need to run the process gets cheaper. Another thing that I thought about while we were doing the convention was that, why do we even have to all gather in one location with the huge logistics and all the disturbance involved to produce ESCOs, executive for a political party? When we know we want to do it from across the state, why can't we just even go back to a model that resembles what INEC does, where each of the states will do the voting for the delegate, for the candidate, and then you just collate all the figures? There must be some way to work it out to make sure that it's a little bit more tight. Instead
of converging in
Yeah, but having said all of that, any fair-minded Nigerian will still say that the PDP produced a beautiful spectacle. You needed to have been there. The energy of the members outside, the people that were there, not a single person broke a stick, let alone a bottle, let alone violence. Everything went so meticulously. No, they didn't leave. If anybody sees or senses that he's likely to be defeated in an election and he starts throwing tantrums, you can't force him to stay there. But the fact of the matter is that to our candidates, I have never seen anything like this before. And I've been in this party, I've been running narrative for this party since the day it was formed. I've been every television station, every radio, most of them have rushes. If you pile it up, it will be up to here. You know what I found? I found out that for some reason or the other, a party that is not in government, these positions that they are going to look for are not they're not salaried position. The only people that get a salary statutorily are the workers that are paid. But the ESCO, the chairman, they don't really get any statutory money anywhere, and we're not in government. There's no big largesse coming from it, and yet you should have seen the energy. Chairmanship candidates were crisscrossing the country. They were connecting with leaders of the nations. They were connecting with the delegate and so the referendum would have been a lot more satisfying if only the one or two governors or those who are being accused didn't really muscle it. It would have been more satisfying if they had been guarded in their utterances. There's no point in saying things that will irritate a race. You can't come and, I can't even come now and start irritating, say the Southeast or the South-South, and expect, especially if I was such a high leader, then it will offend them more. When you are in a leadership position, one of the things you must know is that you must be cautious, you must be guarded, and you must pick your words carefully. For once your word come out, the next thing we have to now start doing is damage control. So for the reconciliation exercise, lucky us, we have a standing reconciliation committee headed by Seriaki Diskili, governor of Bayelsa State, and I believe he has swung into action. I just want to beg our leaders, either in the Southwest or everywhere people felt they didn't get what they wanted this time or they didn't make the unity list, so to say. I just want to beg them to know that our democracy is a choice the country made in 1999. We could have stayed with dictatorship if we wanted it. We have chosen democracy. Between 1999 to 2015, one of the things that used to make me so nervous as an individual was that we were running on only one national party. As much as I'm not a member of the APC, I am exceedingly happy that this country has been saved from being held down by only one national, because we now have two. We have the APC, we have the PDP. If the Southwest feels shortchanged, or the politicians in the Southwest feel shortchanged, then they don't have to start saying they don't want the democracy anymore. They got an alternative.
But then if the PDP really thinks it's quite powerful, it's formidable again, it's focusing on 2019, why is it backtracking again now, going to its former members, begging them to come back to the party if you want a fresh start? Well,
you see, politics and election management and election victory is a very deliberately well-calculated, orchestrated plan. You look at where the power blocks are. You look at those you call the tipping point, people who can make things happen in the region, and you obviously must want them back. Listen, nobody who is a member of the People's Democratic Party of Nigeria at this particular time, either formally or even now, would tell you that he's not exceedingly happy that the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has come back. You know why? Because this is one individual that has friends across all the tribes. And therefore, when he's back in the party, he has the experience. He's a big-time politician. He didn't start politics with PDP. You remember that he was even close to becoming the presidential candidate of the SDP. So the experience is bringing, and the capability to unify us may just be the saving grace of the PDP going forward. That's not to say that it's in the bag for him. So if you now have an Atiku come back, if you have, say for instance in Kano, if God will answer prayers of the PDP and Kwankwanso will come back, realizing that they're not even treating him well there now. If you will be lucky in Kwara and Bukola will just manage himself a little bit better.
You know that the PDP is already making moves talking to these people?
We will, listen, they poached our people to
form... So you're poaching your members?
No, they poached our people to form the opportunity that can leverage the APC into the presidency. They have gotten the presidency. We do not begrudge them that. Change should take place sometimes. But we have a right to go and woo our people back.
Yeah, but someone would say, well, actually, these people were not poached. They were not treated well, and they left the party for APC.
Listen. You are not the politician. I'm the politician here. So I'm the
from the report, because we saw
I'm the politician here.
In fact, they said that
I'm the politician here. So let me try and educate you how these things happen. Take the case of the former vice president now. If Alhaji Atiku Abubakar puts all the resources, the energy, and the muscle to form a party with them, and he didn't win the primaries, obviously, if you're going to be fair, you need to know that you need to give him a sense of belonging, you need to consult him more, you need to ask him about inputs in government, so that even though he didn't win the presidency under you, he can feel involved. But you can't abandon them. You can't do things that suggest that a particular tendencies have won, and those of them that also contributed, and they're also very active.
Why did he leave the PDP in the first place?
Listen, in 2015, or 2014 when he left, I hate to sound like I'm his spokesperson. I'm not. I've not even met him. But in 2014 when he left because the agreements are not being respected. One of the things that destabilizes the political party the most, in my opinion, is when people have bought into an idea of an agreement, which was that, say in 2019, now there's a tendency to say, we have already agreed in the PDP that the presidency is going to the north. Now, if northern elements and leaders start coming out to try to be presidential candidate, and suddenly, if they go and bring one unity list again, God forbid, and they can say, they're taking the presidency to the southwest, it can irritate enough to the level that people will leave. Because if they don't have the ability to force their way, then they must have the ability to leave you with your mess. And you must see the consequences. And I think the PDP has learned, I hope they have, to the extent that nobody can say you can micro zone until you are going to bring your friend. No, the concept of zoning, we should now begin to think about it a little bit more deeply. Is it working? I believe it's working to some extent. The only thing that needs to happen is that we must constantly avoid the risk of recruitment errors. What do I mean by recruitment errors? If you are a company and you want to recruit someone to work for you, you generally would do an interview. You generally will look for some of the ones you think are the best that can drive it based on competence, capacity, and so many other considerations. You can't run zoning in a political party if that zoning is going to now mean that you're going to be throwing up less than the best. Listen, if an Obama steps into a room and says he wants to be president in PDP, just using his name as an example, you will once it starts to hear him, once you see the charisma, people will connect. You can't do a zoning in his area where the Obama man comes from and then tell you that, oh, you're not going to go and take him. You're going to go and take one disabled and say, do you get what I'm trying to say? The point is, we introduce this concept to have all-inclusive, everybody involved, tendencies occupied in the government. It is the responsibility of those leaders to ensure that they look for some of the best hands there. Look, when they play with the idea of my loyalists, I laugh. I have not seen one situation in politics where a former governor had insisted by all means that he has to produce his successor. They hadn't even gone 6 months before they started to be at each other's throat. So you kind of think that you expect them to begin to move a little bit away from that and be looking for what's best. Because after all, a political party is just a vehicle for people to go and deliver value to the citizen. And if you need to deliver value to the Nigerian citizen, you need to be sure that you get your recruiting systems well.
All right, now that the PDP has decided to at least get the family back.
Yes.
What is the message going forward that PDP is going to sell to Nigerians to make it different from the PDP of 1999 to 2005 that they were not comfortable with?
Thank you very much for this question. You see, one of the greatest burden on my spirit since 2015 when we lost the election was the inability of the criminal justice system to punish those that have put their hand in the till and punish them well. You see, had the criminal justice system, PDP members I'm saying now, if they had been punished for graft, for putting their hands in the till, for taking campaign money and finding it in their accounts, if they had been quickly jailed, it would have sent a signal that when you get appointed or sent to go and do an assignment, you are not going to get away with it. Look, there are 3 or 4 tendencies in the political dynamics of the world today for development. There is the Asian one, with China, Indonesia, and all that. One of the things that you see there is that, although it's not exactly American-style democracy, but there is a well-crafted succession plan that works. Why does it work? Because if you are given the responsibility and you do graft, you are sure you're going to be punished. Now, let us flip back to the American and the British and the European one that obviously we're copying. Do you know why that one to also get sustained? It gets sustained because the system is so determined that if you do anything that is considered untoward, you are going to be punished. My issue here is that in Nigeria, and truly, and I think that is the issue of millions of Nigerians, we're 180 million plus people. You can't have 1 or 2 or 3 or 20 or 40 people, whatever title they were given, put their hands in the till of government, so steal the money, and
meaning the PDP failed woefully when it was in power at that time for not doing that.
No. It's not the PDP cannot investigate itself, just like you're not expecting the APC to investigate itself. What I'm talking about now is beyond the elementary party stuff. What I'm saying is that for us to be a strong nation, having chosen democracy, we must be sure that there are consequences for misdemeanors. Because when there are no consequences for misdemeanors, let me tell you what will happen. People get a little bit emboldened to do more. And if they know that, oh, they will just get them arrested, they'll be running up and down the street pretending as if they are sick and not get to be punished, then it then means that the people in the APC now are probably doing even worse things. And if they lose government tomorrow, we'll find the kind of worms and the cesspit of corruption there, and then again, no, that's not how to run the nation.
All right, so what will be the message to
Nigerians? Message for the PDP will be bringing to Nigeria is that Nigerians, you now have a choice. You have a proper choice, not a long regional conversation. You have a national choice to look at how your lives have been before, look at how your lives are now, and try to imagine how your life will be going forward. And I can say, that no decent member of the People's Democratic Party of Nigeria tolerates corruption. When we're putting them in government, we created all of the instruments by which corruption was being managed. Right now, if they gave them power back, if they voted, because people have to vote and the votes must count, I as a person am more interested in the transparency of the process than really the outcome. Because if the process is transparent, if it is fair, if it is clear for everybody to see, why should we say you want to be the president of Nigeria if Nigerians don't want you to be their president? But if Nigerians want you their president, you should be able to be their president in a transparent process and without over-marketing them, without over-marketing the PDP. The Nigerians can see for themselves. Nigeria cannot run as a one-party state. Be it PDP, be it APC, Nigeria can't run as a one-party state. Nigerians must constantly interrogate the process. They must constantly look for the important. And you know what I find in this country? We put all the narrative only at the presidency. That's not correct. We need to drill it down. Look at parties at the local government level and what they're doing with their local government. Look at parties at the state and look at parties at the national.
It's quite interesting. Well, because of time, we have to end the interview here. Thank you very much for your analysis at this time. Segun Showumi, you are a staunch member of the People's Democratic Party.
Thank you.
Always interesting to have a time with you. Thank you so much. Right. When we come back from the break, Lagos State has an ambitious budget for 2018. We'll be looking at that and what ways and how people are going to benefit from all of that in 2018. Stay with us on TVC Breakfast.